This is the briefing for Friday, August 7th. Well, the employment numbers this morning seem to not have much of an impact on the determination of value by the part of traders and investors. These are 60-minute charts of the spiders, the Qs, and the Russell represented by the IWM. So the question facing us for the first part of next week is this is a counter trend rotation for sure. You can see it's even on low volume. We had negative breadth or low breadth. So the internals were basically just confirming that this was some type of counter trend rotation, but not, at least at this point in time, an impulsive move to the downside or projecting an impulsive move to the downside. Certainly the employment numbers could have been the key to changing this from a counter trend rotation to an impulsive move, but that didn't happen. So the question now is we've got a leg one down, we've got a leg two up. Are we going to get a leg three that would be about the distance of from here to here, which is one of the characteristics of a counter trend rotation? And a lot of times, that'll happen and it'll be close enough, or we see just a rotational pattern similar to what we saw basically in today's trading. Same thing with the Qs. You can see a leg one down, a leg two up, and then potentially a leg three that could be coming the first part of the week. Now, what I'm looking for to determine whether this is complete is whether this move up today was strengthening in a way that would suggest that there are more buyers coming in, more stocks are trading higher as opposed to lower, and volume is leaning on the side of up volume as opposed to down volume or muted volume, I should say. But you can see still volume in the spiders was basically muted in the Qs, even lower in today's trading, and really non-existent in the Russell. Market breadth strengthened somewhat. This is S&P breadth to 143 shares positive, but still nothing that I would write home about that would suggest the potential for a huge breakout to the upside. And the same thing with NASDAQ volume, about 1,600 shares positive, which is about maybe not quite 50% of the stocks trading on the NASDAQ, and then only 478 shares trading positive on the Russell. Looking at the daily chart, you can see here's the breakout move, and I've talked about this week about the potential for a retest of the breakout period and then an impulsive move back to the upside once again. It's anybody's guess whether this was a retest of the breakout. I would suggest that it's probably a little farther higher than it should be in retesting this breakout period, but we'll see what happens. You can see volume overall on a daily basis down in the spiders. 52-week highs minus 52-week lows became positive today. It was really kind of muted over the past couple of days. You can see in the NYSE only 861 shares positive in market breadth. So going forward, upside resistance is going to be the high from Wednesday, and that's going to come in right around the 775, 776 area, and support is really very important, is 760. Should we retest this and trade slightly below it and then explode to the upside, that would certainly be a viable option. Should we trade through 760 and close below 760, would suggest potentially this is a false breakout and we're going to see rotation back through this range again. But that is still yet to be seen. It is a strategy that we need to keep in the back of our minds and then look for potential tactical entries as those strategies begin to develop with the market. Same thing with the Qs. You can see we're testing this 728 area, 729 rotational pattern for the last 4 days of trading just below that key reference area. Volume really just falling off in the Qs. NASDAQ breadth improving somewhat slightly, and so did net volume improve slightly in the NASDAQ as well in today's trading. In the Russell, you can see we're testing this upper extreme at 302 area. 4 days of rotation right below it. Now, this is going to be important because look at this rotational pattern and this rotational pattern at the upper extreme of this rotational pattern. So a breakout of this high of the 302 area would suggest a breakout in multiple time frames, this time frame and this time frame, and that could be a fairly decent move. Same thing is true in the Qs, except we're not at the upper extreme of this area of rotation. We're at the upper extreme of this area of rotation, which is a minor time frame compared to this area of rotation as well. Looking at where we are, I talked about the Dow theory divergence. The Dow theory basically says that the industrials, in an uptrend anyway, the industrials and transport should confirm each other. So if the one is making new highs, the other should be making it as well. Otherwise, that signals the potential for some type of problem. So you can see that that the industrials made this high. The transports did not confirm that high, and you can see they are trading lower as the industrials trade higher. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this is resolved and whether we see the industrials begin to make a decline to catch up with where the transports are, or we see the transports begin to accelerate to the upside to confirm what's happening right now with the Dow Industrials. Finally, looking at the overbought and oversold condition, we are neutral in the NYSE, and we are approaching an overbought condition in the NASDAQ. But this does not preclude the indices from going higher in Monday's trading. So we'll just have to see how Monday plays out. And finally, with volume, you can see volume in the NYSE. This is NYSE volume. You can see volume in the NYSE down really at the lower extreme of where we've seen volume for quite some time. Net volume still in this rotational pattern between up volume and down volume, rotating around the zero mark, which is very interesting to see. So it's not giving us an indication, at least right now, of any strengthening within the indices. A breakout of this area here would suggest then there is a strengthening, assuming that volume itself is beginning to increase as well in the NYSE. NASDAQ volume down pretty significantly as well. Net volume down also. So, really no strengthening in the indices, at least at this point in time after today's trading, which would suggest the potential that unless there's some news event that happens over the weekend, unless there's some potential for a breakout, that potentially is just really not there based on what I'm seeing in the internals. What I would like to see is the internals begin to strengthen as these key reference areas are tested, and then potentially we'll see a breakout move for all three of the indices that I track, and we'll see potentially some very good moves coming up. Looking at what's happening in terms of the percentage of stocks above their 20 and 50-day moving averages, this is the S&P the S&P 500. The percentage of stocks above the 20-day moving average, you can see basically in a rotational pattern also, but testing this upper extreme. I'd like to see this above 350 and climbing. Percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average, which is lagging the 20, of course. And you can see that it is down, and you can see right if you look at the volume or the bar chart below of the S&P 500, you can see, or the spiders I should say, you can see as the percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average declined, what was happening here, which signaled the potential for some type of counter trend rotation. So unless or until we see these begin to change, the market internals just are not strengthening to the point where I would suggest a potential breakout. NASDAQ is a little bit different. This is NASDAQ percentage of stocks above the 20-day moving average. Really nice move here, opposed to what we saw in the S&Ps. So you can see this move here definitely supported by the 20-day moving average and supported by the 50-day moving average. So a little bit of strength coming into the NASDAQ. But if I put a trend line down here, you can see the trend line. We would be basically hitting that trend line on this upper. If you looked at this as a channel, you could see the two trend lines that would go right there, and that would suggest then that that we're seeing some more strengthening. But you can see this is very interesting to see this move here and this move here in terms of that. And in terms of the Russell, you can see a strengthening also in terms of this move. And in the NASDAQ, I'm sorry, in the Russell percentage of stocks above 50-day moving average, you see the same thing. So basically, in summary, looking for some type of strengthening of the internals as we test these upper key reference areas. And unless or until that happens, or we could see a breakout, but I would want to see the internals strengthening as well. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Should be a very interesting open on Monday. We'll see how the week goes as well. Watch the internals very carefully on any move above higher or any move below these lows, because if we have that three-step counter trend rotation, the internals would not be that strong to the downside. Have a great weekend.